special events that happened in our industry 5 years ago. One was the task force that you chaired for the Michigan Association of Realtors in 2008. And the second one is the beginnings of the Great Lakes Repository, which also started in 2008.
In addition to local autonomies, they did want a single database. That was key. Because the big problem everybody's trying to solve is bits and pieces of information held within each MLS, where people near overlapping areas would have to join multiple MLSs, meaning pay 2 fees, do multiple searches to get all the information, and maintain multiple databases. That's really the problem in terms of time and expense for agents, and liability, by the way.
So what came out of it was they wanted one database, but they didn't want one MLS.
Correct.
Okay, and the concept was that they wanted to share their listings and put those listings in other MLSs and have other MLSs put their data in the one that they're used to at home.
Right, and the problem was then, most of the accepted methods of data sharing were antiquated methods, like password sharing, submitting data to outside services that would hold it where you had to go somewhere else to get it. And that didn't really solve the problem because you still didn't have one single point of access and you had to maintain multiple databases.
And realtors had to learn another system.
Right.
I would say the biggest benefits of being a part of the Great Lakes Repository is the cost reduction to our members. Previously, our members belonged to 3 or 4 associations paying MLS dues to each.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, just to get the data that they need. Now they have the data that they need in one MLS and one fee.
Because as you know how it works, the data goes out, everybody aggregates the data in an outside database, but then it comes back and repopulates your own home MLS. So no extra searches, no extra charges, no extra maintenance. It's seamless, and that's really the solution that everybody wanted.
Well, we've seen a huge time savings. Basically, when we switched to the GLR, now me and my agents, when we log into our local MLS, we get all the data from all the surrounding MLSs. We don't have to log into multiple MLSs anymore, which has been a huge time saver. Another thing, as far as time savings goes, is when we set up a search for a buyer, we only have to do it one time. We can set it up in our local system once. We don't have to set it up in the surrounding areas. And then that way the buyer gets that data and he only gets that listing maybe once, whereas before I used to have to set up a search in our MLS and the neighboring MLS, and they would get that listing maybe twice, maybe 3 times if I set up in 3 MLSs. And so the buyer would think maybe that we were pushing, being pushy or kind of spammy. So we don't have to do that anymore ever.
So it's not just a time saver for you, but for the clients as well.
Yeah.
So you're a supporter of
I'm a strong supporter, always have been.
Okay.
And in all my years in realtor activities and past president of MLSs and boards of realtors, it's always been the same, as to collectively share our information, and everybody wins. And the nice thing about this is that we can pay one fee for belonging or having access to 11 MLSs. I think that's marvelous.
Well, it would really be the best solution. We would then be at a point where the consumers would not have a leg up on us. We could go to one source, one point of contact, and get it all.
It's been great. Our members love it. They love the ability to search in their home system. They know that they're familiar with that system. They don't have to learn a new one, so they love it.
Well, before we had the GLR, we would data share with the other MLSs around us, but we had to log into their system, try to remember how to use their search fields and criterias, and we'd have to do that for 2 or 3 different MLSs. And so that was the old way, and it was really time consuming. Now I just log into my MLS. I know how to do the search. And it's going to bring up what you said, 10. We have 10 different MLSs feeding. So all that data is feeding right into our system here locally. I don't have to log into any other websites. It's wonderful.
So it's simple and easy.
Very simple, very easy. If you know how to use your MLS, you don't have to learn anything. There's no additional steps. Once the listings are fed into the system, when you do the search, it's there. The information's there. The listings are there.
And you don't have to worry about any other MLS's rules. You just abide by your own.
With password sharing, we never knew who had access to our data, to our system, who was sharing it with whom. Now with the Great Lakes Repository, we know who has access and who's looking at our data.
So it's a great comfort for the members.
And what we have seen too at the association level is a big reduction in arbitration disputes or commission disputes, because there is an offer of cooperation and compensation offered through the Great Lakes Repository.
It's frustrating. We have agents that are members of 3 and 4 MLSs. So some level of standardization would be wonderful. We've been hoping and praying for that for 20 years now, probably, and working with all the MLSs to inch our way towards a process like that. Certainly the repository has pushed that along a lot further and a lot faster than we had actually hoped for.
Yeah, and that was, as you well know, a difficult thing to do. There were local politics involved, realtor politics involved, but I think, in my view, the Great Lakes Repository is such an efficient and workable solution. Such a good idea. It's so much common sense that it will eventually overcome any local or MLS politics, because it's such a great idea.
Well, it's huge. I mean, the first thing you look at is when you take a customer's listing, a client's listing, you want exposure. And to have this kind of exposure throughout the state, no matter where you list a property, that's great for our clients. But then I look at the administrative side of it, or the side of it from our agents. If they wanted to belong to, say, 2 or 3 different MLSs to cover some of these areas, you've got 2 or 3 sets of forms, you've got 2 or 3 sets of rules. Well, the repository eliminates that. We've got 10 MLSs that have agreed to play with the same basic rules to get that data into a central spot so everyone can use it. Also, if you want to be in 2 or 3 MLSs and get that exposure, you're going to pay 2 or 3 sets of fees, and the repository eliminates that as well. So, I mean, the exposure, the autonomy, the autonomy of still having to belong to 1 MLS, but get the exposure of 10 MLSs, it's really a great thing for the agents and the brokers as well.
The Great Lakes Repository provided one location for our members to go and get the information with all the fields that they need to provide information to their clients. It also gave them more inventory to provide to the clients and exposure to their listings, which is very important in today's market.
Well, this is a win-win-win for everyone. And the reason why I say that is because it's a win for the selling agents, it's a win for the listing agents, and it's a win for the public.
I've grown to 11 MLSs. Now, Dan, I know that you were an early supporter of the Great Lakes Repository,
Sure.
and I wanted to get your feelings on 5 years and the growth. What do you think?
I think it's done great. It's to think that you can get all those different MLSs with different platforms, different users, different ideas of how they want to see data and use data all together to agree on one system is pretty amazing. So congratulations. It's a lot of hard work.
It's been a lot of work.
So it's really a monumental accomplishment. I really look forward to seeing what happens over the next 5 years.
Well, I'm looking forward to continued growth of the GLR. I feel like we make leaps and bounds every year that we're part of it. We've enhanced our services and increased benefits to our member. I would like to invite and encourage everybody to check us out if they'll like what they see.
The Great Lakes Repository has done great in the first 5 years, going from 0 to 10 MLSs that are participating. My hope is that we can expand to every MLS in the state of Michigan.
I'd like to see all 34 of the MLSs in the state participating. It's great that we've got 10 in the first 5 years, but certainly my hope and goal would be to see a statewide database, a statewide repository.
If you're a member of an MLS that's not a GLR participant, I would highly recommend to talk to your association, talk to them about joining the GLR, or join an MLS that is a member of the GLR. It's a huge benefit.